I have a rather weird and unremarkable history with Chance the Rapper. I'm going to be getting to his new album, his spectacular new album, Starline. But when he was rising, when he was the hot new thing, I wasn't paying attention to new music. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know the lore. I stopped paying attention to anything that wasn't Daft Punk or Kanye or Radiohead in between about the years of like 2005 and 2018 when I started this channel. But that said, I still was aware of him because of Kanye, because of Ultralight Beam, and I still think that is probably the second best feature on any Kanye West song. I might do a top 10 list of Kanye features. I don't know. So I knew that about him. I was absolutely blown away by that feature. I had no idea who he was, had never even heard of him when I first heard that verse, and I was blown away, just completely taken out, just like I was the first time I heard Nicki Minaj on Monster. And then the next thing I saw was he did a Kit Kat commercial, and I was like, oh, that's a bummer, because I wasn't used to the way that kids are these days, where that's not considered to be as big of a deal as it was when I was younger. And then The Big Day came out. Now, at that point, this was very early on my channel. You can see the video. You can find it. It's not very good. My early work is it's charming, but it's not good. But at that point, I still don't think I had ever watched Fantano even once. I'm sure I'd watched a lot of The Company Man or Justin Hunt's work, but it wasn't like I knew the name. It was just like videos that I watched for research or whatever. So I wasn't really up on the discourse. So when that album came out, I was like, oh, wow. Well, there's things I don't like about it, but I think it's great. That was what I said. So I was totally on board with The Big Day, even though there were things I didn't like, And what happened at that point was he made a wedding. He made an album all about his wedding, all about the marriage, and I had just gotten married to my current wife. And so I started to feel this real sense of kinship that I'm like, wow, here is a guy who is brave enough to be happy. He's brave enough to make an album about love, not about heartbreak, to make an album about commitment, not about failing at commitment, just like, this is who I am, this is my album. And so I still stand behind that album. I re-listened to it again. It's good. I understand why people don't like it that much, but that was the thing. I was free. I was free from expectations. I didn't have acid rap. I didn't have the other stuff, right? So it meant that I could just listen to it as it is, in a similar way that I was free for the Carter 6 because I wasn't paying attention when the Carters 1 through 4 came out, so I wasn't as devastated at its relative lack of quality. So when I listened to The Big Day, I started to feel what I can just sort of call a kind of kinship with Chance the Rapper. Now, I've learned a lot. I've watched a lot of interviews. The Grits and Eggs interview is the best for this album cycle. God damn. That is like an all-time musician interview, by the way. Grits and Eggs, the host, I think his name is Devante, he has this way of talking too much that is perfect because it becomes a real conversation and not just an interview. You really have to go watch it. But anyways, I've learned a lot about his life, and our lives are very, 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 very different in terms of lived experience, relative privilege, all that stuff. But I still felt this kind of kinship. I also watched this interview with DJ Head and Gina Views, and he just said just plainly, I don't lie. And that's a thing that I've been saying for, 7 or 8 years. I just don't lie. In my real life, I don't lie. I don't lie about little things. I don't lie about big things. So that's my sort of feeling. And this whole album just reinforced that sense I have. And maybe this is why he's so popular. Maybe you feel this way too. Maybe everybody feels like I'm sort of like him. But I really do feel this sense of shared love of humanity and love and things that humans can do, a shared outrage at the lack of humanity in politics, at the lack of humanity in our daily lives. It's just wonderful. So he's back, right? I was going to call this video How to Reappear Completely, but I'm going to... Morning doves, not the smartest birds. Love you guys. But he reappeared. And he did it perfectly. For whatever reason, people hated The Big Day so much that they wanted nothing to do with him. Just nothing. He was plutonium. No one wanted to touch him. He was a hot rocket Chernobyl. Nobody touched Chase. Nobody feature him. Nobody listen to him. He's done. He's gone. In some ways, that's kind of how it feels with Lil Wayne right now, the way people feel about that last album. Just like an album that pisses people off so much that he is essentially canceled without being canceled. Okay, which is a wild thing. So I heard someone else say that. I thought that before I said it, but I heard someone else say it. So tell me in the comments, because I've been watching a lot of stuff about Chance over the last couple of days. I apologize for the lateness of this video. I normally try to cover the best releases of the album the couple days, but my daughter's had a birthday party. My son came home. I'm in this hell week before the semester starts where I go to meetings every single day, just like these unending meetings. Anyways. So I guess the question is, Chance is back. He has reappeared. He has reappeared completely. And it seems as though the world is now ready for Chance. But did he change? Or did we change? I think it's the latter. I think we changed. I think 2024 was the year that everything changed. Do you know how you know 2024 was the year where everything changed in hip-hop? Because everything's different. Thank you for auditing the Always Positive New Music Review Show, hosted by a French professor who explains one thing with a synonym. It changed because it's different, all right? But how many well-designed, deep, political, spiritual, complicated rap masterpieces are going to come out in a 12-month span before we just say, all right, there's something really going on here. If there is a shift, if there's a great reset, as Read My Soul says, it really appears to be happening. Now, I think where people get hung up is they feel that it's all a credit to the beef between Kendrick and Drake. I mean, I think that's a huge part of it, but mainly because that was giving shape, that was giving form to this movement that I think has been happening for years or has been preparing for years. The same way that, like, on the other side of things, Trump isn't the reason that we are plunging into fascism, right? He's not the reason, he's the shape of it. Right? If you were paying attention, I don't know. If you know the name Anita Sarkeesian, you were able to tell what was going to happen to our civilization. Okay? Like, that was very clear, just that you were following it. But it needed a figurehead. And so I think Kendrick is that figurehead, and the Kendrick and Drake beef represent this beef about the values of hip-hop, and more specifically, the dignity and the defense of Black American culture. Like, all of those things come together with a whole bunch of other stuff, like the elections, like still living in the shadow of the Black Lives Matter movement. And with each gigantic, mega, brilliant hip-hop project, it is clear that we are living in a world which seems to me to be post-Kanye, because he removed himself from the conversation. It's sad. We'll talk more about Kanye in this video, don't worry. Sorry, the mourning doves are a big fan. Now we got geese in the background. It's beautiful out here. I think we live in a post-Kanye hip-hop landscape and a post-Drake. Now listen, for Kanye, it's just a loss. No one can do what he can do. What we're going to see, what we're going to keep seeing, is basically a bunch of people, like 10 people Frankensteining the 3 kids in a raincoat trying to get into an R-rated movie, right? Like, you just kind of mix it all together to get one sort of, I call it the Kanye hole. He's got this gigantic hole in popular culture and in hip-hop culture. So, you take like a cup of Tyler, a tablespoon of Chance, a couple cups of No ID and Saba, a teaspoon of Kendrick, some guys Cavada, some young guys in there, sprinkle on some Gambino, and then you basically have like the Kanye hole sort of filled up. And then there's the Drake hole, which is... Why is it that every time I talk about Drake, I end up saying something that sounds like I'm trying to be mean? There's the Drake hole, all right? And the Drake hole, I don't think... First of all, it's not as hard to fill. Jesus Christ. What is wrong with me this morning? I'm just going to keep going. I don't say pause because it's homophobic. Y'all who keep on saying pause are going to come back and look at your videos and go, ooh, jeez, man, that was funny. It is funny. I'm not saying it's not funny, but you're going to go, ooh, yeesh, I didn't mean to be all I didn't mean to be all homophobic when I kept on saying pause all the time. Anyways, let's get back to filling Drake holes. So, like, that's pretty easy to do. I mean, not as well as he does it, but that's something that you can do. Throw on hooks, throw on this. But it seems as though maybe we don't want it. Maybe we want something else. Maybe we are actually entering an era where the figureheads are no longer Drake and Kanye. Maybe they are, I don't know, Tyler and Kendrick? Certainly Kendrick. Abso-effing-lutely, it is Kendrick. I think he is the figurehead. Even Chance the Rapper in that great Grits and Eggs interview straight up said that this album is partly because of Kendrick. And thank you, okay? We're struggling out here, okay? The people who correctly and neutrally and passionately observe the influence and brilliance of Kendrick Lamar end up getting tarred as being like, oh, we're just the K-bots. Oh, we just, you know what I mean? Which is just like, yeah, man. It's like I love funk music and I'm trying to tell you about James Brown and you're a KC and the Sunshine Band stan and you're trying to explain to me how KC and the Sunshine Band is a bigger deal than James Brown, okay? It's like, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Anyways, in that great interview, he talked about how he respects Kendrick and he respects Clips. And now I'm going to do the thing that most professors try to do, okay? Do you hear that dog in the background? That's the dog that bit my dog's ass. I had to take him to the vet. Bit him right in the Drake hole. Okay. So, like, I'm going to do the thing that professors do sometimes, which is they kind of like, you know, take a big look. Let's look at the last 12 months, okay? Did the Absol album come out in the last 12 months? I don't think so. I think it was before that. He shouted me out on a freestyle. Best moment of my life? Maybe. Shout out Professor Skye, though. Beautiful. Anyways, he would fit on here too. I don't remember exactly when the album came out. But we think about the last 12 months, right? If we take GNX as like the moment, not the beef, GNX. We got GNX, Ray Vaughn, Clips, Jid, Chance. All of these albums, you kind of put them all together. You take a space pack. You imagine it is 2034. Okay? 2034. President Michelle just took office. Who's her vice president? I'll tell you at the end of the video. President Michelle just takes office, and I'm teaching my hip-hop class on hip-hop in the 2020s. I will talk about this period of time and say this was what happened, because how can we group all these albums together? They're from LA, they're from Virginia, they're from Atlanta, they're from Chicago. They are not from New York. Come on, New York. You can do it. You can do it, New York. Let's do it. Okay. All of these albums, how are they similar? They are all explicitly pro-black. That is not unimportant. Throughout all of the albums, they are filled with the heritage of the Black Power movement of the 20th century. Please don't forget, when hip-hop started, DJ Kool Herc, when he was choosing records to create hip-hop, when he was picking the breaks, he was picking breaks of music from his parents' generation. This was already the 70s. This was already at the point where, like, James Brown and Sly and the Family Stone and stuff, maybe not Sly and the Family Stone, but, you know, like James Brown in particular was kind of like, oh, that's my parents' music. He was keeping them alive and this heritage of the late 60s and early 70s. And it's like, you know, not a coincidence that on the Rory and Mal podcast, he directly mentions this song in this album, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, by James Brown. By the way, it's a great album. James Brown's amazing. We were very, anyways. A person who did a lot of unforgivable things, who still needs to not have his musical contributions and his cultural contributions negated because he could not process his trauma and he inflicted trauma on other people. Okay, anyways. You know, and how there's like Richard Pryor all over the album. You know, it's explicitly anti-white supremacist. You know, it's the kind of album, these kinds of albums are the kinds of albums that make me happy. I mean, beyond the fact that it's great to study, but, you know, that I am a student of and sometimes teacher of African and African-American history. Like, these are not kind of important topics, okay? What's more important? That you know who signed the Declaration of Independence? Or that you understand what the Black Panthers did, okay? Just think about it for a second, okay? I'm not saying they're not both important, okay? They are. But There's founding fathers, and then there's stuff that has a direct bearing on our lives today. Not only are all these albums that are in this kind of constellation together explicitly pro-black, explicitly connecting to their parents' and grandparents' generation of black civil rights liberation, but they're also basically all Christian, or they at least talk about Christianity in a deep way, quite often tied into a kind of liberation theory of Christianity. Instead of thinking of Christianity as being something like the prosperity gospel, see my JID video if you haven't already, it's actually more the idea that the Bible and Jesus teach us that the people who have been forgotten and deprived of their dignity must be given their dignity and must be reminded, must be remembered. Makes me happy that I'm the son of a preacher man. Makes me happy that I've studied a lot of religion, that I got confirmed, and that I studied art history, right? What was that? I was like, maybe a cardinal? I don't know. So we got pro-black, Christian. Also, I'm not saying like communist or socialist, but there's a lot of questioning of free market capitalism. A lot of denouncing of the wealth gap, okay? It's still celebrating success. It's still talking about, chains and whips and, like cars and jewelry and all that stuff. But it's not, but it's still questioning the system under which we live, because how do you not? Because you can't be a Christian who believes in Christian ideology, and you can't be pro-black and tied into the civil rights movement while also being ignorant or ignoring class issues. It's just not possible. Another thing, which a lot of people have commented on, it is explicitly regional. All these albums are explicitly regional. I would throw Metro Boomin on here, but the rest of the stuff doesn't quite fit. But the idea that like rap music comes from a place, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's if we could be kind to Drake, we could just say that the issue that we really needed to, or that hip hop culture, not we, they, hip hop culture. I don't pretend to be a part of hip hop culture. I'm an observer. I am somebody who likes to be in community with hip hop culture, but I do not consider it to be me. Okay, I just have to say that. I try to say that every video. But like what needed to happen was Drake is a nowhere man. He comes from nowhere. He doesn't really have a sense of place, a sense of self. He's multiple personalities, multiple histories, multiple regions, multiple genres all at once. And maybe what hip hop needed to do is just be reminded that it comes from a place and it comes from a people. And sometimes those people are in Chicago, and sometimes they're in Atlanta, and sometimes they're in California. Along with this, and I would say this is tied in with the general appreciation of the Black American movements of the 60s and 70s, is a deference to like Black soul music, a sort of like the music of their mothers. That seems to be a theme I hear quite a bit. So, Anita Baker is having a moment. Jeez. She really is. I went to the record archive and I bought an Anita Baker CD, but I didn't buy the one with Sweet Love, so I'm going to have to buy another Anita Baker CD. But I'm not done. How do we put this all together? What's the actual, I think, overarching thing that is the real trait that we are desperately looking for in our hip-hop artists in 2025? The thing that we are now demanding, and that Chance the Rapper has always shown, is growth. Personal growth. I think Chance the Rapper might be the king of growth, because he is, as far as I can tell, the most transparent rapper there is. Transparent, not in the deleted sense, obviously. I'm transparent in that sense. But what I mean is like very clear with how he's feeling, not lying, honest, open, emotional, but without it being maudlin, without it being some kind of performance of emotion, like just real emotion. And so you had the big day and people didn't like it because he grew, he got married, he wanted to rap about that, he didn't want to rap about drugs, he didn't want to rap about sex, he didn't want to rap about skipping school, right? He wanted to rap about what he was doing right then. And everyone was like, don't. No, don't grow. Don't grow. Don't grow. Go back to your little box, Chance. Okay? And this album, it's like, okay, now he's gone through a divorce. He has a couple kids. He's a couple years older. And he is still just who he is. He's just presenting this personal growth. He's taking us on his journey with him, and we feel it. And it all makes sense. Why is it that when we're sort of in kind of hip hop spaces, never grow, morning doves, when we're in these kind of hip hop spaces, like right now, there's sort of like three people who are very often seen as being lost. Okay, there's Kanye, but Kanye's problem is not growth. His problem is mental health, okay? It's not that Kanye is stuck. It's that he is unwell, okay? He is unwell and very visible. So that's the problem. But when we think about like the great artists of the last 10 years, everyone is turning on them. Now they're not turning on Kendrick because Kendrick can grow. They're not turning on Clips because Clips showed all this growth. It's this growth that we need from artists like Drake. Hey man, are you still trying to hug strippers? Aren't you like 50? You know what I mean? Are you getting drunk on stream with like with like white Republicans and staring at a roulette wheel? That's not growth. Same thing with Lil Wayne. You know, as great as he is, that's the number one complaint about the Carter 6. No growth. That, and everyone is still wrong about Peanuts to an Elephant. Good song. Fight me in the comments. Peanuts to an Elephant is a good song. It's a good song. Gotta hold on to it. No, don't leave. The rest of the video is going to be good. Drake, Lil Wayne, and Nicki Minaj, right? They all just refuse to grow. So what we have here is an album of growth. It's a great, great divorce album. One second, I just got a call from my wife. Speaking of growth. All right, so that was that. I have a 1-year-old in my lap at this moment. So we'll see. That might change. But, you know, this album is largely about growth, speaking of growth, and it's about artistic. It's about, oh, my God, now she's texting me again. Oh, okay, now she wants her back. All right, well, there goes my 1-year-old's cameo. I'll be back again. Listen, I don't do ads, okay? And I don't have any time to record this video other than 6 o'clock in the morning. So, yeah, I got all the Sesame Street toys all ready for her, but her mom just called her back upstairs to eat. So there you go. So here we go. Where was I? It's a divorce album. We'll talk more about that. But another thing I want to say is that this whole, like, question recently about like, can older rappers, you know, still be viable? Like Kendrick, who's in his mid-30s, and, you know, Clips, who are much older than that. You know, they're basically my age. And, you know, it's interesting because I love this comparison that or this energy we've had around Jid, you know, and Jid's a good example, unlike Chance as a young guy, you know, because Jid's in his early 20s and Chance is pushing 40. Oh, no, wait a minute. Wait, what? What does that say? Jid is 2 years older than Chance the Rapper. It's just a question of perception, everybody. Chance has been around for so long that we're basically treating him like he's some old guy, but he's only 32. And Jid, that everyone who still keeps calling a kid, is 2 years older, okay? It's all about perception. Chance is still younger now than Kanye was when Kanye found or started working with him. Okay, so the entire time that you have known of Chance as someone who's working with Kanye, that entire time, he's still younger than that. And what is it about Chance that makes him so good? Just beyond all these things I'm talking about the thematics of his music, he really does fill a kind of Kanye-shaped hole. But what's fascinating is when he talks about his own. I hate how much I use the word fascinating, by the way. If it bugs you, it bugs me more. But I don't have a script. I just have my thoughts. So, you know, I just have my words. But what's fascinating is that he credits late registration as basically being a college dropout is the reason why he does what he does. And in a real way, he already was filling the Kanye hole of the old Kanye. He's the super smart and bright, but underachieving, somewhat alienated by class and by race, Chicago kid who is able to make all different kinds of music and inspire you and frustrate you all at the same time. He is an incredible rapper. incredible at his craft. I mean, really. I mean, unbelievable. But the problem is he's such a charismatic singer that you kind of lose track of what a good rapper he is because of how well he uses his fragile voice. I mean, that's what blew me away all the way back in 2016 with Ultralight Beam. This is everything. I think he's a good beat selector. I mean, the production on this album, it's interesting. It's sort of like the JID album in the way where when it's good, it's great. And when it's never bad. It's just sometimes maybe, I'm not going to say generic, but just sort of like a base level of very good. Kind of jazzy, sometimes kind of Kanye style. Most of the producers, much like on the JID album, are just kind of unknown to me. He is a visionary. He is creative. He follows his own vision. He does what he wants to do. He is very truly an independent artist. He is not signed to anybody. What is there not to like about this guy? Smash like bucket, subscribe. I am teaching my class on Haiti right now. I'm thinking, and I'm probably going to, put the entire class up for free on my secondary channel with homework. I'll give you the homework. I won't grade it. You're not going to get a real college class, but I think I might put the lectures up. Tell me in the comments if that sounds like something I should do. Before I get into the album, you will never guess my favorite song. I don't think. I have a favorite song, and I'm surprised too. I don't know what I'm going to call this album. Probably something like from F- to A+ or something like that. I use the word masterpiece to describe what I think are like the top level albums. I've given out the word masterpiece quite a bit lately because of clips, because of JID. So I'm not sure. This is what I would call a borderline case. All right. If it's a basketball and it's a 3-pointer, you know, the toe's on the line. We're going to need a video assisted referee to see if this puppy's offsides. Okay. So let's go through the album and find out. The first song is called Starside Intro. It's just kind of a boring intro, like, welcome to Starside. And then, no, it's not. This intro, if you think you could just skip the intro track, this album is the entire goddamn album in microcosm. It's just the entire album. It's the themes, it's the spirit, it's the energy of the album. It's the hey, if you only have time to listen to one song on this album, listen to this one because this is the entire album. Starts right off with the word Chicago. It's Chicago, and then the word that I don't say, and this like great whine to the beat. There's this kind of like, and his voice starts to whine more, and there's like some gospel singing. This introduction of the Starline theme. I mean, he's going all the way back. By the way, similarity between Chance the Rapper and I. His family used to work with Stokely Carmichael, and so did mine. My cousin's babysitter was Stokely Carmichael. My aunt worked with him a lot, and he actually lived in her house for a while. So there you go. Chance and I do have some overlap there. I apologize. I forget Stokely Carmichael's current name. No insult implied there. But like the Starline thing, that goes all the way back. The Black Star Line goes all the way back to Marcus Garvey, one of the sort of earliest founders of the Black Power movement, one could say, you know, sort of before it was called that. It's a fascinating I keep saying fascinating. Every time I say fascinating, I lose 1,000 subscribers. Did you know that? Every time I swear, I get 1,000 more. But, you know, there's the White Star Line, which is what the Titanic was on. And there's the Black Star Line, which was a shipping line that Marcus Garvey invented to understanding that, you know, black people couldn't really be free if they didn't have any control over capital, right? At least not in a capitalist society. And so I really like the idea of just calling it Starline either way. And then it can be this sort of through line where it's just him taking his place in civil rights history while also maintaining his independence and just being a cool title that even if you don't know what the Black Star Line is, even if you think Marcus Garvey used to play for the Dodgers, right? Like, even if you don't know that, it still works. This is my problem. Okay, first of all, question for you hip-hop heads. Has there ever been a year with more verses of the year verses? How many goddamn verses of the year verses are we going to get? First of all, Malice, I'm looking at you. You gotta shut your mouth, would you? Every time you open up your mouth, it's a verse of the year. We're getting tired over here. All right? Kendrick, stop doing features. Every feature you do is a verse of the year. You gotta knock that off too. Oh, a whole album of verses of the year from Clips and from Jid and from Rayvon for that matter. Oh my God. This, just like this, I have 40 pages of notes and it's mostly just copying and pasting from Lyric Genius because the lyrics are so good. Surprise, it's the boy who lived, tying himself into Harry Potter and just saying he's the boy who lived. But it's on two fronts, everybody. He died because his last album was hated by everybody. And notice I didn't say it was so bad, okay? I'm not part of the not good brigade. I think, first of all, y'all didn't like Hot Shower? That song rules. Anyways. So he died that way, but also this album is about rebirth after a divorce. This is a beautiful, non-bitter divorce album. There's not enough music about divorce. We'll talk about this later. I got a 38 special I call Noisy Cricket. I got a chain now called Roy G. Biv. It's the new edition, like Poison Bell Biv. DeVoe, it's time to make that noise again. Lauryn Hill says she's seen me on The Voice again, but this, the end of the road, like Boys to Men, tying into 90s soul and R&B and New Edition. And Bell Biv DeVoe was what came out of New Edition, so it's the new edition. And then Poison was the song by Bell Biv DeVoe. And listen, I was born in 1977, which means, this is true, I cannot say the word Bell Biv DeVoe without saying Poison. Okay, it is impossible. It doesn't matter what race you are, what gender you are, where you come from on planet Earth. If you are my generation and you see the words Bell Biv DeVoe, you have to start saying poison. All right? You better use your pen, baby. Use your heart, child. Where's your viewpoint? Where's your art style? Sometimes a teardrop can make your heart smile, looking for a sign. He sends a star shower. Fresh off the coup d'etat, the music stopped, you might lose your spot. So here he's really talking all about how he lost his position in the music. It's a love letter. I used to hate math. I used to love letters. They had me in the class with the dumb word I don't say. This word I don't say came to class with an umbrella. He talked all about, oh my goddamn, watch the Grits and Eggs podcast. He talks all about the experience of being labeled as a slow kid in a school. And how he just wasn't, right? And I can't read the rest of it. I have every single lyric here. I'm just going to go through all of it here because it's all so good. Put on that full armor, learn from what my mama said. Oh, life will be, just believe in you. Separate the waters. It's a fleet of ocean liners. Starside. Shake it for the star line. Work it for the star line. Look, Mama, I see a star, big and pretty. It ain't that far, bright and bold and black like me. It's right in the mirror. I'm shining hard. He is saying so many things. He is saying I'm black and beautiful, right? He is saying I am chance and I'm beautiful. He is saying I am broken and I'm beautiful. He is saying I'm fixing myself and I am beautiful. He is saying I am a rapper and I am beautiful. I am shining. You know what this is? This album does what so many great rap albums by female rappers do. It's empowering. I feel empowered. And I am none of those things that I just said. Okay? But it makes me feel like this sense of like uplifting. 3 went platinum, 1 went diamond. I had an F-, but that's behind us. My pen on paper worth millions of dollars. Shout out to the fact they still ain't signed us. No contract, no fine print, no lease, no consignment, no co-signment. Also, I should add on to that whole little list of things that make this moment, the post-24 rap boom going on here. I think we have to say healthy suspicion of record labels. But I don't like that he calls his last album an F-, but it is cool that he accepts that's behind him. That was something that people don't like, and that's behind him. I just got all the lyrics. Why did I type out all the lyrics? Why? This pen's gonna flow. God, I'm your vessel. Now bless my soul. God, we're gonna wrestle. The writing's on the wall, baby. It's a fresco. It's a death note. It's a manifesto. Every lyric on this song is worth reading and is worth studying. Over 7 years ago, the people of Watts stood together and demanded to be heard. So there's this whole theme of the Watts Stacks documentary, which if you've never seen it, see it. I tell people this. If you come to America and you want to understand America, the city you have to go to is not New York City. And it sure as hell is not San Francisco. Hey, French people, stop going to San Francisco. Stop it. Stop it. Stop going to San Francisco, French people. Sorry. A lot of pent-up anger there. If you want to understand America, you got to go to Memphis, okay? That's, in my opinion, that's where you got to go. Do you know why? Because to get to the Civil Rights Museum, you have to take the Nathan Bedford Forrest Highway. Nathan Bedford Forrest is the guy who founded the Ku Klux Klan, all right? That's the kind of energy that Memphis brings you. And that's where Stax Records is from. And when you go to Memphis and you go to the Stax Museum and you learn all about like Isaac Hayes and Booker T and all the stuff that was happening there, you just feel this like energy and love. And then Watts Stax was like where the stars of Watts Records, of Stax Records, went out to Watts after the riots to help them recover and to put on this concert. And Chance knows what he's doing, even if you don't, because he's like trying... He's trying to make this album like it is his Watts Stax. And instead of speaking to the burnt out husk of Watts after these riots, it's... Okay, well, I don't feel comfortable saying this because I'm not black, right? But it feels like he's trying to make this album for all black Americans who have gone through what they've gone through in the last decade or so. I don't know. It's how it feels to me. I'm not the expert. I'm not the guy. Remember? I'm transparent. I'm getting a sunburn in a snowstorm, okay? I'm just saying that's how it feels to me, and I think it's beautiful. And then we get to the song Ride. That's the other thing. That's the other thing that we could group together. This whole regeneration of hip-hop 2024, you got to have some songs, because if Drake is gone, what's going to take his place? Oh, I hope it's Ride. I hope it's whatever, every single song off Don't Tap the Glass. I hope it's Skate by Jid. Do we need What Did I Miss? Do we need What Did I Miss? We don't, when we got Ride and Skate and Dodger Blue and everything off of Don't Tap the Glass. If you need to dance and just have fun, why not do it in a way that doesn't make you feel weird and like you're supposed to hug a stripper? How do you not dance to this song? His fragile voice is at the center. Ride, we're gonna ride, we gonna be alright. Fight if they wanna fight, they gonna... When he goes up on the fight pit, get your brothers right and we're gonna ride. And then Do or Die comes on. Regional dancing. 2024, the year where regional dancing came back. Where Skye, in absolute pitch darkness with no one looking, practices his sea walk while listening to Kendrick. You will never see me. It will never be seen by a soul. Okay? I know it is not appropriate for me to be doing any crip walks. I'm not trying to appropriate nothing. But you hear squabble up and your feet want to do something. Your body wants to do something. I can't help it. All right? Regional dancing. Again, if you study African American history, there's a really important aspect, which is that of black joy. Right? That so much is made of black suffering, because there's been a lot of suffering imposed upon black Americans, that black joy is in of itself a form of resistance, right? What is this? So Do or Die comes on here. He's a Chicago guy doing super choppy, fast, choppy Chicago-style rapping. It rules. Man, this is 2 songs in. There's 17 songs. Are they all this good? No. But wow. And then No More Old Men. No, okay. If I had the confidence and skill of Screwface Jean, I would do that thing where I stand up and walk around and go, ah, right? But I I don't have the confidence, skill, or charisma. I hope I had the passion, because you hear this song and it's like a good song, and then it's just so deep. No More Old Men, all these stories, these little vignettes. Remember that in high school when you had to write little vignettes? You had to write little stories. These are vignettes of the barbershop and the old men who used to be there and the kind of wisdom, and more important, just the essence of old people. It's not the wisdom. The wisdom matters, but just being around old people is good. They have different experiences. They can tell you stories about... I don't know. My dad could tell you stories about waking up in my aunt's house and seeing Stokely Carmichael there and drunkenly walking out and participating in the I Have a Dream March, okay? Like that's, like that kind of just like stories, just being around old people. It's very good for our soul. It's very good for our communities. It's very good for our sense of connection. And again, I typed out all the lyrics here, but I'm not going to rub on the, talking about the girls who used to rub on their hair that they can't grow back. All about like young kids coming to get their haircut in the barbershop, right? Hey, I don't know what the barbershop thing is. I just know what people tell me. I understand it as being an important place of cultural exchange and community building, right? And the idea that like young men come in and get their haircut for the first time and they learn how to play the dozens and they learn how to take part in this culture, it's beautiful. But this is the problem. The whole song is about no more old men. Now, I don't know. How do I read this? I read this as being, there was a generation of in many places in America, there's a generation of black men who were largely removed through the drug war. Like huge swaths of men missing, either because they lost their life to addiction, to violence, or they were swept up by some kind of draconian, absolutely bullshit, absolutely should be considered neo-slavery drug laws. Okay? That kind of thing. So, like, there's no more old men. It makes sense because the old men, the men who should be old now, were young in the 80s and 90s, and we know what Biden was up to. We know what Clinton was up to. We know what Reagan set up. We know what Bush wanted. We know what everybody wanted to do and what they did. And what that means is there's no old men. Professor Skye style sidebar here. Some of my favorite art of the 20th century is German movies of the 70s. And part of why I like them is they are from a lost generation. Because not only did a lot of Germans die of the older generation during World War II, but even if they didn't die, we don't like them. We're ashamed of what happened. This was a terrible thing. So the movies of people like Werner Herzog and Fassbinder and Wim Wenders are fascinating because, fascinating. I lost another 1,000 subscribers. Are wunderbar. They're so interesting because, like, the Germans don't even like it. I try to talk to Germans about these movies and they don't like it because it's a terrible reminder of this entire generation that they lost. All right? So, hey, everybody, Chance the Rapper, the guy who you wrote off because you didn't like him loving his wife, just dropped a song about generational loss that is like as profound and deep and meaningful as any movie could possibly be, as any song could possibly be. This is art at its absolute best. It is communicating a social problem while also celebrating what was lost in a way that is so bittersweet and effective. Words. It's fascinating. Then we get to the negro problem. Again, the word negro is a complicated word. It is being used here in its historical context. That is the way that I'm using that word. Okay? It just means black in Spanish, right? Featuring BJ the Chicago Kid. More of this regional stuff here, this guitar and choir, and it's sampling Anita Baker. No kidding. It's sampling Sweet Love, the song that Kendrick Lamar shouted out. It's very clear we're living in the GNX. I think we just call this the GNX generation, 24 GNX. And this is like back-to-back, really deep. As a student of and sometimes teacher of African and African-American studies, you could not get a better gift than this song. Because we just had the whole song about the lost generation. And now we have a song about the fact that black suffering is not taken seriously, that it is considered to be natural, and that it is considered to be black problems, not human problems. This is very deep. There are absolutely many academic articles written about this. Just right off the bat, nowadays you're 13 and you have to think 30. There's a lot of people who've written about this, talked about this. This is in a lot of rap music. When one grows up in a ghetto, when one grows up financially precarious situation, when one grows up feeling highly insecure, when one grows up in perhaps a family that has been destabilized, you end up having to grow up faster. You end up losing your youth. You end up being an adult much younger than you should be, premature aging. Listen, everybody, I'm a professor, so I'm just going to remind you that teenagers are less than 100 years old. Okay, let me tell you what that means. Obviously, teenagers are between the ages of 10 and 20, but the idea of a teenager dates back to the 50s. We didn't have this idea. It wasn't an idea. We didn't call people teenagers. Teenagers are a marketing demographic. Being a teenager is a luxury. Look at the 80s. Look at the movies of John Hughes, the excellent movies of John Hughes. But what do they reflect? They reflect the reality that white Americans in the suburbs got this thing called American teenagerhoodness, right? They got to be American adolescents. They got to be American girls. Okay, that's what they got to be. But people who are on the other side of the poverty line, people who weren't benefiting from the increasing wealth gap, they were teenagers and they had to grow up real quick. Adolescence is a luxury. But that's a black problem, as the song says. It's a Negro problem, as the song says. It is not taken seriously. It is not seen as a societal problem, because that's what it is. It's a societal problem. Criminality, incarceration, the drug war, those aren't black problems. Those are American problems when they're in America. They're human problems. A lot of complaints, but we can't file them. Open shut case, still won't solve them. So a lot of it's about the problems that the unequal justice system. So bam, nothing you could possibly do. And then we get to a whole verse about the medical issue. And there have been many studies done. Many studies. And I don't mean Joe Rogan studies where it's like, I read a thing where a guy said that if you eat the head of a rat, you will grow to be 400 feet tall. That's interesting, man. Let's give me all the power in the world. All right, like actual real studies have found that when black people go to the doctor, their pain is taken less seriously. Now listen, they're not alone. Women's pain is taken less seriously as well because women have a higher tolerance for pain. Okay? Which means that white guys like me, man, my pain is taken so seriously. I'm such a wimp. I feel like my wife could have her entire arm cut off and she'd just be like, I think I need to go to the doctor. Whereas me, I can like stub my toe and I'll be like, ow, god damn, I think, can you look at it? Can you look at it? Can you please call the doctor? All right. I'm laughing at it, but it's actually not funny. It's a symptom of an unequal, and it's not like doctors are trying to be bad, right? Doctors are good people. In general, they're trying to help people. That's why they became doctors. But it's how ingrained this racist white supremacy is. There's even a reference to 911 not being useful because it's a joke. It doesn't serve black people equally. There's just one little side thing. And I believe this is true, but I'm not positive, okay? So this is maybe closer to a Joe Rogan fact than an actual fact. But I read somewhere at some point that there was a unexpected upside to this medical iniquity, which is that black patients were prescribed painkillers less frequently during the wave of the opioid crisis. So there was a time where doctors were basically convinced by a bunch of evil companies to just give out opiates like Tic Tacs. But because black pain is less respected, they were less likely, statistically, less likely to be given these addictive drugs to get hooked. So it did not affect them at the same rate that it affected the white patients because their pain was ignored. Anyways, I'm not saying that's a consolation. I'm just saying that's a sign of how messed up it is. But anyways, tell me in the comments if that's not true. or tell me the truth of it. I love the beat at the end with this compressed drum set and this other singer. I think that's BJ, just like, and it's humanity, that's what it is. It is our problem. Black problems are white problems. All right. And vice versa. Like we're all in this thing together. Race is a construct, right? Draptomania featuring Baby Chief Do It. Very low, slow piano line. Kind of like this just sort of super aggressive line. One second, you know what? Okay, another text from the wife. I'll be back. All right, we're all good here. So, kind of a tonal shift, but I like the tonal shift. I like kind of taking things down a bit with just a song to just kind of get hyped to, right? I would say turned, but I don't know. I feel like when I say turned, it's appropriation. Even though hyped also comes from African-American vernacular English. I don't know. What are you supposed to do? I really like this kind of like precise rapping here in the beginning. Like he matches the stuttered hi-hat just perfectly. He has so many different flows. Like, because he's so charismatic and so interesting, what he's saying is so fascinating, you kind of lose sight of his technical ability, but focus on the way that he raps over the hi-hat on here. It's unbelievable. Very, very cool. And then this other guy, Baby Chief Do It, who I guess is in some hot water for admitting that he uses ChatGPT to rap. He's 17 years old. As a college professor, I can tell you this. If you think anybody between the age of 15 and 23 doesn't use AI for almost every single thing they write, then you have not been a college professor. This semester, I'm having them write everything in class. Only way to be sure. And it's not because I'm trying to play cops and robbers. I want them to learn how to write, It's an important skill. Thank you, Blue Jay. Thank you. And it's funny because you're sort of like, all right, it's kind of political, because he says my favorite rapper named Tupac. Love Tupac because he shot 2 cops. I got a 9 milli called Thug Life. I got a new chain saying F ICE. Again, humanity. Okay, those are his problems too. And it seems like it's just this kind of fun song. But then Draptomania was actually, he's teaching us. Now, I'd heard about it as a student of and sometimes teacher of African American history. And I don't mean like in an official capacity. I mean like I teach hip hop, therefore I teach African American history. I teach about Haiti. Therefore, I teach about African American history. I'm not saying I have the qualifications to be a teacher of that subject, right? I just teach aspects of it. But, Draptomania was a term for an actual illness created by Samuel Cartwright. And it's the insanity that leads enslaved people to flee captivity. That was considered to be a mental illness back in the 1900s. Okay? Talk about pseudoscience. I mean, at this point, Samuel Cartwright would probably be, leading the National Institute of Health in this administration. Part of me expects, and this is part of what's wild, is that like we actually live in a time where just a couple of days ago, the current president is talking about how slavery is not that terrible. So, like, maybe the stuff is more germane than we'd like it to be. The insanity of not wanting to be enslaved, which makes the whole chorus go crazy. At the same time as it's a hype-up bar, it's also black liberation. It's also like, if you are crazy, that means you are free. Because only the crazy ones can be free in this white man's world, right? That's what I think is implied. And then we get to my favorite song. Did you guess Back to the Go? What's your favorite song, by the way? You can tell me that in the comments. I'm curious. Featuring Vic Mensa. What the hell? Why is this my favorite song? This isn't like the most anything. I just love it. It's the super high-pitched babyish voice to start, and then this just beautiful beat. And the thing is, I love this song. It's like Yoda says in The Last Jedi, failure, the best teacher is. That's the best way to learn is failure. This entire song is about failure. It's about the failure that you feel when you get divorced. Shout out to Open Mike Eagle, Anime Trauma Divorce, and his new album, Neighborhood Gods Unlimited. Great album. So Anime Trauma and Divorce is like this great album all about divorce, and it's very personal, it's very meaningful. This album also really is there because he's able to describe, because like divorce is a really important thing to understand. And I just want to take a second here because a lot of this album is about divorce. Please don't get it twisted. Divorce is not like a breakup, okay? Divorce is like a breakup. Like dating someone for a week is like being married to them. It's a very big deal. It is a huge emotional drain. It is like death. It is the kind of mourning you get when you get divorced. I've gone through mourning. I've gone through a divorce. It is like that. And please don't get it twisted again. Getting divorced with kids is a whole nother ball game from getting divorced without kids. Shout out to all my people who got divorced before they had kids. You brilliant geniuses. You got out before things got too difficult. All right? But it's a whole nother thing. There's a whole nother level of guilt. There's a whole nother sense of failure. So he has this whole song where he's talking about his precarious place in his own family's life. I made a mistake. I lost a home, not like the mortgage, but more like a foster home. Supposed to be two parents, but now I'm across the globe and screaming across the phone. The dog that just lost his bone. I'm back at the bachelor pad. Chicken scratch on the pad. I had a bachelor pad because the thing is, when you get divorced, even if you don't have $1 million, right, you got to figure out where to live. You got to be. I spent half my time somewhere else. I had a little apartment over in Cornhill. I had a little apartment over in by the Liberty Pole, all right? Rochesterians, you know what I'm talking about, right? I was exiled, all right? I'm sitting there in my bachelor pad on OkCupid trying to figure out what's my next move, bro. It's bad. It's bad. I got a fix for an itch. I'd be scratching it bad. I'm in the kitchen flipping the script like a spatula ad. Was packing my bags. Once I unpack, I'm back in my bag. Square one, ground zero, the homeless hometown hero. It's homelessness. That's how you feel. I was transient only in the family sense, and in the past tense, maybe I was absent. That's the feeling you have. You feel like you're failing your family and you feel homeless. Because you make a home with your babies and with your wife, and now all of a sudden you don't live there anymore. True story, one time things got so bad I had to sleep in the back of my car at the Wegmans on East Ave. I went for a long walk that day. I went for a long walk down East Ave, and I took kind of a wrong turn, and I ended up in sort of a bad part of the neighborhood, and that was the first time anyone ever offered me heroin. Said, would you like some heroin? Now, I wasn't tempted, but for the first time in my life, I understood why people would have said yes, because I was sleeping in the back of my car at the East Ave Wegmans, which is not a good place to be. Not a good place to be. I fall on my face sometimes. I look at myself. I cry sometimes. Everybody, let us please praise Chance the Rapper. He gave us the excitement of true love, and now he is giving us the heartbreak of when that true love turned out to be a mirage. This is an amazing two-piece album collection. Unbelievable. He describes how he made paint from the pain. He's talking about his life was a still life. Just unbelievable. And then Vic Mensa comes in here, and Vic Mensa has the best guest verse on the album. Actually, if there's things that are keeping this album from being a masterpiece, it might be that the guest appearances aren't actually that good. In general, like I don't feel like people brought their A game because maybe they thought they didn't have to, because maybe they thought Chance was done. I don't know. But Vic Mensa here, playing with heavy metal like a Black Sabbath LP, ain't no taxes on the wealthy. I've been eating vegetables, more broccoli, celery. My therapist says my relationship is not as healthy. You know, it's like that's the whole thing. Like Chance is talking about, like lifting weights in his mom's house, and he's staying at his mom's house. Just the displacement. When you're going through a divorce, when you're a family man going through a divorce, the amount of displacement that you feel is unbelievable. And you thought you had this thing you could trust on. You thought you knew. You thought you had security. You thought you had some freedom from the chaos in which you were born. And all of a sudden, that rug is pulled out from underneath you, because most likely if you got married that young like I did, like Chance did, you were just trying to recreate your family of origin, but fix all the problems by marrying somebody who has all the same problems as the person you grew up with, right? It's psychological. But it's all here. What a beautiful song. It's everything all together, because the whole time whenever he's talking about his failures as a husband, or not his failures as a husband, the failure that one feels when one goes through a divorce. If you're going through a divorce, it's not a failure, by the way. I believe Louis C.K. said there's no such thing as a bad divorce. There's only bad marriages, okay? Difficult divorces, but they're never bad. They're always the right decision if it's the right decision. But you feel like a failure. Then we get to highs and lows, this chopped up soul sample. Hey, early Kanye. I miss the old Kanye. That's okay. I got Chance. This first verse is just why he's a master rapper. I'm an emotional roller coaster with highs so high I could put bowl on a poster, but when the bread get low like 4 loaves in a toaster, oh, the shoulders get as cold as 10 toes in Nova Scotia. Do you love hip hop? Do you love rap music? Do you love it when rappers can come up with things like when the bread get low like 4 loaves in a toaster? Anyway, shouts out Claudio the Chance of Meatballs, underrated children's movie, overrated children's book. Hot takes with Professor Skye. And then Joey that Badass's verse is okay. It's all right. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's a good verse. But I feel like maybe he's not quite up to par with Chance here. And also, hey, maybe turn down the snare a little bit. Jesus, the snare's too loud on here. And then we get to Space and Time, which is, it's just like a Coldplay song. It's just kind of a cheesy song about his divorce, and who cares? It's kind of emotional. It's just going for your heartstrings. About how he feels like a giant, but now that he's a giant, he can't fit in to the life of his ex-wife and his kids. So I'm going to read to you. What I wrote. Okay? Actually, I didn't write. I transcribed it. So I listened on my way to work, and I hit the little button. I don't type while I work, but I record. So I'm going to record my feeling after hearing the lyric where his ex-wife says that you don't fit, but you should see how big she gets. So talking about how big his daughter is, how much he doesn't see her, how much he's missing of her upbringing because of what he's going through, and him expressing that pain so clearly. This is what I wrote in my notes. The last verse actually made me fucking cry, you asshole. I'm too big to fit. You should see how big she gets. Fuck you. I'm driving to work, you piece of shit. Sell a Kit Kat. Wear a hat that says 3. I don't even really know why it says 3 because I wasn't paying attention back then and I didn't know what chance 3 means or why Kanye told you to have good luck with it. But fuck it. I am trying to fucking go to work. I'll think about the fucking passage of time, not my fucking dick about how fucking relationships started and end, and I'm a fucking giant who can't fucking fit in the life of the people I'm trying to be with, you piece of fucking goddamn it fuck. So that's how he hit me. That's what I transcribed because it destroyed me emotionally when she said you should see how big she gets. Chance the Rapper, amazingly emotional verse. Link Me in the Future. This is the part of divorce. This is like Donda 1, okay? Donda 1's also a pretty good divorce album. And Donda 2 is where he realizes it's over. Donda 1's where it's like, hey, it might still work out. This is kind of like, I'll be here forever. It's this beautiful story about still caring for the person who is the mother of your child. And listen, if the parent of your child from whom you've divorced is not an abusive monster, this is the proper approach to take, the durability of this love and I don't know. Here's some more notes here. He's 32 and you wrote him off when he was 26 years old. Someone who is known for being precocious and you wrote him off at 26. I love the second chorus, the vocoder effect. The world is on fire and you married a snowman. Gun in your purse. Not the highlight of the album, featuring Tia Crone and Young Thug. I don't know. It seems like it might be about, I like the kind of Midwestern style choppiness of it, the kind of regionalness of it. I assume he's talking about riding with his daughter and he's sort of doing a Kanye Wolves thing and giving advice to his daughters to keep themselves perspective. But then it kind of drags and Young Thug is there and I don't know, he's rapping about guns. He's not really in the theme. And then the Tia verse is fine, but the whole thing kind of drags. And then we get to Tree, which is the single, and that totally makes sense. It's, based on the India.Arie sample. If you were if you were my age, you recognize the sample. If you're younger, you might not have. That's a cardinal over there, trying to figure out how to eat. There he goes. Male cardinals are red. Female cardinals are brown. but also sounds like it's just being sung by Dram. Dram? D-R-A-M. Maybe the most underrated singer in America, Dram. And it's interesting because it's a song all about weed. If you know anything about this channel, you know that I am anti-cannabis in general. Okay, I recognize that some people are able to use cannabis in a recreational way, and there's no harm. But I'm very wary of cannabis dependency. I was raised by potheads who smoked weed all day, every day. So I've seen it. It's terrible. It's not a good way to live. It's not good. It's not good. Cannabis dependency is very bad and not that dissimilar from alcoholism in terms of behavior. In terms of health, much better. In terms of behavior, not much better, in my experience. Okay? That said, open up the jails. Okay? Legalize it completely. All right? This decision should not be made by some judges and some cops and some scared white boys on their deck. Okay? Open up the jails. Everybody who's ever been... You know what? All drug offenses. Open up the jails. Just get them out of there. Let's start from zero, can we? But definitely, if we're legalizing marijuana, we need to open up the jails for all that stuff. And this is a fascinating perspective because it's essentially saying, he's talking about how his mother smoked weed. My mama had to work. My mama had to birth. My mama drove to church. She ironed shirts and kept a smirk. I think my mama must have worked at the saltine factor. Why? Because she came home crying, saying, I'm tired of these crackers. This idea that like smoking weed provides an outlet, some kind of relief from growing up in poverty or growing up in a world in which one feels marginalized and put down, and one feels the weight of white supremacy, that it provides some kind of relief, some kind of self-medication. You know, that's however much I am theoretically against cannabis because I'm very scared of what it's doing to people's brains. I'm not going to argue with the song. I don't disagree with this song, okay? Even if I'm against trees. And if I ever hear that Ben Harper song come on a radio, the I'm going to burn one down song, I break that radio. I will smash that radio in half. I will John Belushi that motherfucker. I'll be like, I'm going to burn one down. I hate that song. But this song, I don't hate it because it's political. It's political. We love you. We smoking on big Uncle Sam. Dispensary weed is a government scam. Thank you. It's true. How do you start a dispensary? Be rich. What do you do when you start a dispensary? Get richer. Who has all the money to start the dispensaries? People who already have money. It's terrible. It's terrible. This could have been a chance for people, and I don't just mean black people. I mean anybody in America. Anybody in America who's not already rich could have made a very good living off of dispensaries, but they don't get it. They don't get the access. My cousin's the weed man. My plug is the man's. Smino's on here. This little hook about Casa Negros. Very, very deep stuff here. And then Wayne is weak. I'm sorry. I thought it was good because it sounds cool, but it's not thematically linked enough. The final lyric, dreadlock Rasta, bandana red like pasta. I steal an N-word, B-word like a Mazda. Come on, man. Also, the beat reminds me of Timbaland. Burn your block, kind of hostile, crazy dance rhythms. And this is about when do we riot? Not we, okay? But I mean like when do we, from his perspective, when do black Americans riot? When is the time to burn things down? When is the time to burn your block? That's the question. Now listen, this is a general question for America. The other day, my daughter said, hey, are they going to overturn gay marriage? And I said, yes. And she said, huh? I said, well, I didn't think they'd ever overturn Roe v. Wade. And I thought when they overturned Roe v. Wade, the entire world would blow up and everything would come to a stop and there'd be riots in the streets, but nobody did anything. So hell yes, that's going away. All right? That's going away. Hell yes. It sucks. When is we going to burn the block? As in people who are seeing what's happening to our country. That's an interesting question. Time to throw a right now, left cheek, right cheek, going right now. So, turn the other cheek. How many times are we going to turn the cheek? Crazy flow. It's super political, super hype. What is the breaking point? And then we get to letters. Dude, it is 8 o'clock. I have to get my daughter up. I don't know how I'm going to get through this whole album. He's following the tradition of the Bible. At the end of the Bible, there's all these letters about how the church has to be better, like St. Paul. Beyond that, like people like St. Augustine wrote letters to the church as well. It's all about straightening out the church. And he goes at all these different levels. First, he starts off with his home church, talking about how they use too much gossip. Then he goes on to the mega church. Please watch my JID review where I talk about how he is explicitly against the prosperity gospel, because now Chance the Rapper is releasing an album within a month with a song that does in one verse explicitly what I was explaining was implicit in that JID album, where he's straight up saying, I watched you worship idols, brand a Bible, sell it for double, brandish rifles, cause and libel, withhold shelter from for survival. You take those government checks of smile and nod. I rebuke you in the name of the child of God. Unbelievable. Then he takes aim at the black church and he starts talking, and Roy Malice starts talking about James Cone, who's one of the founders of Black Liberation Theory, which fights against the prosperity gospel. Unbelievable. He's making us do our homework. This album is for African American studies. True story. I emailed my friend in the African American studies department. I said, hey, you better check out this album, because he's also a really he's a very religious, very Christian man, and I'm saying this is all in here. And as he said, like the relationship between racism and Christianity is very tight in America. Remember that whole thing about Draptomania? Part of the justification was that it said, because in the Bible, they literally said this in the 19th century, in the 1800s, they literally said that the Bible wants black people to be enslaved. That's what they said. That says that in the definition of Draptomania. And then this jazzy breakdown about the body, and he's rapping from the body of Christ. So he's basically rapping as the body. He's rapping as the body that someone has right as they take communion and they eat the body of Christ. And I'm going to tell you something, okay? I don't understand this verse entirely, but I completely feel it. I don't know what kind of Christian I am. I don't know exactly how I believe in Jesus and all that stuff. I do. I don't care if you do. If you're an atheist or you dislike Christianity, you are my friend. I don't care at all. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything, okay? This is just my experience. Son of a preacher man, lover of the gospel, okay? I don't know what my religion is, but I know it when I see it. So, I don't know. When I saw Masaccio in Florence, when I saw his frescoes, I was like, that's my religion. When I hear Bach, okay, especially some of his fugues, I feel like that's my religion. That's my relationship to Jesus. This verse by Chance the Rapper, this is my relationship to Jesus. Dear body, bruised and broke body, abused, confused and soaked body, the light of his eye, the love of his hands, the one that got his love in advance, the love of his life, the covenant stands, the body, the nobodies, the ones that went back in search of more bodies, the ones that placed coins and mourned and washed feet, the ones that watched the little bodies that lost all heat. Speed of Light, featuring BJ. The Chicago Kid. Tiny weird voice to open again. Kind of a Jersey Club beat here. I don't know. After that last song, I'm just wiped out. Beautiful rhyme run here with Chase Ya. And, this is kind of a reminder. We need another light song. Without Kanye, where's our light songs going to be? This whole beautiful ending here. Do you want to cry in a Toyota or do you want to cry in a Rolls Royce? I don't want to cry at all. Thank you. We need to worry about being happy, not about being rich. Although, of course, it's very difficult to be rich if one does not have enough money to live. Then we get to the song. Pretty, unpromising title, but this lyric, I look in the mirror like, yes, Napoleon Dolomite, the great Black American comedic figure of the 70s, a kind of caricaturish, super bravado guy, and Napoleon Dolomite, is he the first person to think of that? I don't know what it is, but this is that feeling that you get when you get out of a divorce and when you go to the gym for a little while and you're feeling good about yourself, okay? And you look in the mirror and you're like, I look so pretty, I look so hot. All the girls on OkCupid are sending messages back to me because basically no guys on this site still have their hair, have a job, and can write a complete sentence, all right? That's what that was like, right? That's what that was like. But then you look and you're like, oh, actually, I feel kind of ugly. Oh, actually, I feel kind of empty. Oh, actually, I feel kind of bad. And you need this reassurance. My mom told me I'm a nice person, but I got left. Maybe I ain't find the right person. I got clean. Maybe I ain't get the right version. I need a shrink come get me my meds because there's some things wrong in my head. Sometimes I think she was the love of my life. Sometimes when I'm alone, I think I'm dead. That's everybody. That's what it is to go through a divorce. You're looking in the mirror like, I am the king of all things. I think I'm dead. I don't know. I think she is the love of my life, and I'll never love again. Bing. Oh, she responded. I am the king of all. What an amazing album. Then we get to Just a Drop featuring Jay Electronica, standard kind of R&B beat. But then again, how many verses of the year are there going to be here? This is a fascinating concept because it is largely about the wealth gap. Okay? It is using money and resources as water. They got enough water for fountains. They got enough water for salmon. We just need enough water for a courtesy cup. We need just enough water for emergency stuff. Water, our body is 75% water. The earth is 75% water. Water is the essence of life, and it is not equally distributed in our hyper-capitalist society. This is an attack on that. A courtesy cup. Like, you go to the movie theater and you don't want to spend $8 on a small soda, right? I'm looking at you, Regal. I'm looking at you, $8 for a small soda. I don't even want to drink that much soda. It's a long-ass movie. About a bunch of kids running away and stuff. I got to go to the bathroom. I don't know where they went. Point is this. The courtesy cup. These little signs of poverty and of lack. We need just enough water. It reminds me of when I was a kid. I went to a private middle school, public high school, but private middle school. And there was this time where we'd hang out sort of in this kind of cafeteria. And there was a drink machine. And there's also an ice machine. So you could get ice in a cup. But not everybody had money to buy stuff. A lot of kids who were there were on like scholarships and stuff like that. So there's this weird like ecosystem where the rich kids were like the kings of the cafeteria, and they would buy usually iced tea, and they'd drink the iced tea. And then the kids who didn't have money would sit there with just their ice cups, and they would just go, please, please, just give me enough to flavor the ice. Just enough to flavor the ice. And these lords of capital, okay, they would sit there and be like, no. Or, yes. And they just go like that. Just enough to flavor the ice. Just enough to flavor the ice. And that's the world that we live in, where some people don't have enough to flavor the ice. And then it gets weird and religious. And I'm not sure about the chorus here, because it's saying here that I just need a drop of the blood. I've seen the storm come. I know he's coming. I can't wait till he does. Does this undercut the message? Does this actually undercut the message of the Letters song? Is this, okay, because the problem is there's so many different kinds of theology. This appears to be implying that the people who are poor will be okay because they will be saved in heaven. The problem is that kind of theology often leads to justifying inequalities of wealth. So this chorus kind of confuses me because it feels to me, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I have more faith in chance than I have in myself. I feel like I must be reading this wrong. But what I kind of read in this is sort of saying like, it doesn't matter that we don't have water because we have Jesus. Which feels to me to be against the theme of the rest of the album and even the rest of the song, to say your reward is in heaven. Because then we have a whole verse about land. We need just enough land to land on, just enough land to stand on. We live on blocks with houses abandoned, talking about bandos, talking about all that, Hey, look up Mark Zuckerberg, Hawaii, by the way. If you want to know the world we live in, look up what Mark Zuckerberg is doing to the people of Hawaii. Okay? That's the world. I'm just preaching to the choir what a chorus could do. I'm speaking to the fire what a forest could do. I want everybody to stand up, hop on one foot, and say, Chance the fucking rapper. Chance the fucking rapper. Did you do it? I'm just speaking to the fire what a forest could do. This is lyric of the year. Talking to the people who are trying to steal your wealth and steal your culture and put your people down. They are the all-consuming fire of never-ending pockets, of never-ending greed. And you're just trying to tell them what the forest could do while the fire is burning it down? And then Jay Electronica comes on. He has a nice verse about Jesus, but my eyebrow is raised because, listen, I really like Jay Electronica. I did a positive review of his album. Okay. But I don't enjoy the anti-Semitism, and anytime he's talking about money changers and money lenders and get him banned as a hate group, I don't know. It's a little too close to the stuff I don't like about Jay Electronica. But, you take the good, you take the bad. The album ends with Speed of Love, just an R&B song. I don't need it, but I don't hate it. It's cool. Kind of more of this post-divorce feelings. Talk about mourning Mac Miller, which is really nice. Talks about his life. Talks about his life, like, growing up and, like, learning when shit got faker, that's when shit got realer. Hop on the other foot and say, Chance the fucking Rapper, because that's an amazing lyric, right? When shit got faker, shit got realer. Fascinating line, right? Because it's like he's talking about when his career gets bigger and he becomes more popular as an artist, things get less real. Things get less just great. And almost like Lizzo was describing too in her album and her rollout, all about the way that it is when you're an up and coming star. Oh my God, the radio to the meet and greet, then to the show, give out hugs like we had tentacles, just how much your whole life is just lost. And then it's almost, listen, the JIT album ended with him talking about about how he came to rap and why he is where he is, which was very much like Gloria, which was very much like The Heart Part 6. And then here we have a line, look, love was the fuel and the pen was the tool. It's been that way since lunch tables at school. It seems like this GNX thing, this GNX 2024, 2025 movement has this whole thing where you have to have at least one song, and usually at the end where you talk about your artistic process and the importance of your pen. The kingdom ain't the castle, it's the knights that ride for it. Okay, now just levitate on the earth. Just levitate. The kingdom isn't the castle. It's the knights that ride for it. Our worth is not in our land, our power, our money. Our worth is in the human connections that we have. That's the richness. There's two forms of real wealth, okay? Health and human connection, all right? This guy. And, that's fine. And then we get the last verse. The last verse, which is, for those of you who are wondering, am I going to declare this a masterpiece? Yeah. Yeah, this verse. This last verse. Everything goes quiet. This may be an all-time rap verse. This may be the truest emotional expression in hip-hop history. I don't know. There's a lot of... Listen, I don't know how you're ever going to beat the It Can't Be Love verse from Scarface off of the Rock La Familia album. The quality of Rock La Familia album is like, it's pretty good. Scarface verse. The rest of the album, pretty good. But, oh my God, not a star yet, just a son at the time. Me and my dad burnt the CDs one at a time. The beauty of a Sharpie in the moonlight. The writing was Baroque. The speed was cartoon-like the dad helping him write on the CDs. The love baked and barbecue grilled. He taught me how to fish, how to start a new skill. He said, scale to tail, grab the shark by the gills. If God need a boat, you do your part and you build. Fuck the art of the deal. Donald Trump's book. Fuck the art of the deal. Put your art in your will so your kids never spend time starving or ill. I think about his bars too long. I start to get chills. These are the kind of lectures out of Harvard and Yale. False. This is better than what you get at Harvard or Yale. They had us in the class for the kids who find it hard to sit still. Hard-headed kids' confidence is the hardest to kill. They called us slow, but my heart beat fast still. My heart beat fast when the love comes slow. At the end of the day gonna end, but I always end up where the love don't go. That's the sad part. And then he starts singing. But if you look up, that star is going to shine. I'm always in my glow. Run the light. No telling what life will be, but it's start and it will go. Unbelievable verse, connecting his relationship to his father, his feelings of being put down as a kid, his life as an artist and growing, all these things all coming together in a way that's not super straightforward, but not super oblique at the same time. This album, we are truly living in an amazing time. And yes, if you are looking in the future, did anybody know that we were living in one of the greatest eras of rap history? Yes, we did. By we, I mean the people who are not out here running around trying to explain why Drake actually is right for whatever the hell he's doing, okay? Everyone else is seeing it. Let God sort them out. God does like ugly. GNX, the good, the bad, the dollar menu. Starline. Oh, who is Michelle Obama's running mate in 2034? Chance the Rapper. Chance the Rapper, man. This guy should be president. He's not old enough yet, but he will be in 2034. He should be president. His dad hung out with Obama, worked for Obama. He's the American story right here. He's got the intelligence. He's got the charisma. He's got the wisdom. He's got the sense of history. He's done the studies. Okay? Yeah. I do think we need a Chicago rapper as president. Not yay. But I'm telling you, Obama, chance, 2034. All right? Let's do this. It's fun to dream. There's the camera. I better go take care of my kids. There's the camera.